Okay, we got, what time is it? Oh, it is
Um,
1800.
wait, what?
You know what time that is?
Time to boogie.
Oh, well, welcome aboard. You,
We're on. Hey, what's up? What's going on, man? It's been a while, so I wasn't sure what was going on. Kind of
yeah,
frightened me there for a sec.
yeah, is this thing on?
Hello. We've had kind of a long time before we got on the air here, but we made it.
Little sabbatical.
Every once in a while, that's kind of good. Little mini me was kind of missing it.
Oh, yeah.
He's asking me a lot of questions like, "Hey, man, when are you going to get back on that Ramble show?" I was like, "Hey, relax, man, relax. We're getting there. We're getting there."
One step
So
at a time.
that's right. So what's been going on, man? Anything exciting?
Yeah, I think we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got a lot of stuff the pot has been stirred.
Whoa,
Yep.
whoa. The pot has been stirred. And what pot would you be asking about or talking about?
Would it be the NAR pot?
Oh, there it went right there. Yep, there's been a lot of conversations about this. So, but guess what we have? We have the latest and greatest. So, unfortunately, there's been a lot of rumors going on too. There's been a lot of misconceptions going on. So, hopefully, that we can maybe put a little better understanding behind it.
Good.
And yeah, and I mean, not only are consumers a little probably not as on track as they should be, but I've seen a lot of agents as well that might not be giving the right information and or kind of steering to the left a little bit or steering to the right a little bit too. So I think that hopefully today that we might be able to put a lot more insight on it so we can, as agents, explain it to our consumers a little better, and as consumers hopefully understand what it's all about as well. So it should be pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And today might be more important than ever. Feel free to call in with your questions or even send an email. I'll be checking those throughout the show.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I was going to call in right now and ask a question. Does the phone work? All right. So we're not even going to start off with any violations today, are we? We're just going to jump on into this thing.
Yeah.
I think this is probably going to be pretty much the show of NAR. So, well, you ready to hop on into this thing?
Yeah, let's jump on in. Both feet.
Sounds good. All right, so I got a really cool fact sheet here that I kind of threw together for everybody to possibly, see some implications for the members, some positive and negative. How about that? So kind of hopefully set our minds at ease a little bit, and maybe not. Some is good, some is bad, but like I said, by the time we're done, hopefully this will explain a lot of different things as well. So, want me to hop on in and just kind of get in on it?
Yeah. Yeah, I
All
don't. We don't have any questions right now, but I'll keep checking.
right. I think my picture just froze up, which is I don't know what I'm looking at, but I froze up. But can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I have no idea what I'm looking. I'm up here in the clouds or something. All right, so let's just hop on in. The latest and greatest, hot off the press. Doo, 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 doo. All right, so NAR and plaintiffs have reached a proposed settlement agreement. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's been actually agreed upon by the courts yet, right? So it's a settlement agreement. However, they're expecting that if they do accept the settlement that NAR has proposed, that we're probably going to see some changes coming up maybe June, July. Is that what you heard too?
Yeah, yep.
So, you don't know how fast the court systems work. So it could be soon, could be later. It could also, it looks like it's a good one, but can things change too? So, this isn't set in stone. Let's just put it that way. It's not set in stone. But I think we should all be prepared just in case. Does that make sense? Just in case. Nothing's been settled on yet. It's proposed. I just want to make sure everybody understands all this stuff. But, a lot of the stuff that they are proposing, we should have probably been doing as agents a long time ago. Like a buyer rep. We've been doing those a long time ago. I mean, I've been teaching classes for 25 plus years. I've always told every student, get a buyer rep, because, it's not only that's how you get your commission, right? Paragraph 11, but also why else should we get a buyer rep? So we give them the full fiduciary duties. To me, that's just being professional. So I think now what we're going to have to do is probably spend a lot more time on that buyer rep the same way we spend on the listing agreement. So, we should have probably been doing this years ago. And so there's a couple of other things here that are definitely going to be like I said, some a plus, but some people might think it's not as, let's say, good news. All right. So NAR plaintiffs have reached a proposed settlement agreement that would end litigation. Is that good news? Yeah, that's good news. The claims brought on behalf of home sellers related to the broker commission. All right. So obviously, what was this whole suit about? Commission based, right? Saying that, the buyers didn't have an opportunity to, negotiate their commission. Sellers agents were saying, hey, wait a minute here. Well, hey, sellers, it's normal per se to pay the commission of the buyer's rep, of the buyer representation. But what did that turn out to be? Well, they thought it was overinflated pricing, and it was also price fixing, because the minute you say this is customary, what does that mean? That could be an FTC violation. So that'd be a price fixing problem. And so negotiation is going to be where it's at. And we should have never talked about commissions to begin with. How do you feel about that, Jeff? Did you always, kind of put it in the lap of the buyers anyway?
I mean, I guess pretty much. I mean, I won't say that I always got my buyer rep signed in the beginning before showing. I'm not going to admit to that. But I think that part of it is going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of the stuff, like I said, I've always said before I put anybody in a car, what am I going to do?
Okay, we just lost Steve, and he'll be dialing back in here. And there he goes.
I have no idea what button was just pushed, but apparently I'm gone. I don't know what just happened right there, but I disappeared in the la land.
Yeah, so your camera's not on right now. We can hear you. Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out this camera deal. It's not working with me very well. So I don't know what's going on with this camera, everybody. I apologize. Let's figure this thing out. All right, let's try this one more time and see if this camera is going to work.
There we go.
All right, there we are. We're back again. All right. So sorry about that, everybody. A little glitch, if you will. All right. So apparently the computer's still on vacation. All right. So basically what this is, the agreement would resolve claims against NAR, which is good, right? Over 1 million NAR members. Anybody know how many actual NAR members there are? Like 1.9 million, 1.5 million NAR members. That's a lot of people, right? If you think about it. All state, territory, and local realtor associations. All associations own multiple listing service MLSs, and all brokerages with NAR members as principals that had residential transaction volume in 2022 of $2 billion or below. All right, so we're going to kind of get into this a little bit, because $2 billion is a lot of money. What do you guys think? And below? I mean, sales wise. And so if you look at it, what they're trying to say is anybody with sales volume in 2022 of $2 billion and below, they're trying to actually just completely relieve them of any type of suit. To me, that's good news. What do you think? Now, I'd love to make $2 billion a year, but in this situation, I feel good. I feel real good about this. So, we have a lot of mom and pop places out there. We have smaller brokerages. So, it sounds to me like it's the bigger entities. Let's put it that way. That might be more problems. All right. So the actual settlement that's being reached, obviously, is NAR. They feel that this is probably the best for everybody involved to achieve this settlement, and it kind of will help out going forward. And we're going to kind of cover some of the stuff that it will help. All right, so the first thing is covers NAR's release, implications for members. So if you're a realtor, right, that's what it's all about. The funny thing about this is it has nothing to do with licensees. So I look at this sometimes, I go, well, wait a second here. You have 190,000 plus licensees in the state of Texas. Not everybody's a realtor, but this is one time where I'm pretty proud to be a realtor for less than $2 billion in sales. And this settlement goes through. We're kind of in the clear. What do you think? Or we can be relieved of it. So I'm going, thank you. So I don't really mind paying them dues anymore. Let's put it that way. All right. So implications of members. Over 1 million NAR members are released from liability nationwide. Hello. That ain't bad. Considering what is there, 1.5 to 1.9 million? I mean, you think about it. That's a lot of people that are going to be relieved from this. All right. NAR releases covers of all members other than agents affiliated with Home Services of America and its related companies. The last corporate defendant will have to litigate themselves, of course, and employees of the remaining corporation defendants named in the cases. So basically, unless you're part of, obviously Home Services of America or Sitzer Burnett case, that's not going to be excused, but NAR will be. And since we're realtors, guess what? That's a good feeling. How you feeling about this, Jeff?
Yeah.
So far?
Yeah, that's good.
This is a positive. This is a negative going on here. And so, you can only do what you can at a lawsuit. So you kind of look at it and go, that might be one of the better. Oh boy, I disappeared again. So this is one of the better things that are coming out. So I always look at everything as a positive. Right? We try to make it positive. All right, another one is implications for brokerages owned by members. Well, basically, members are realtors, right? So if you belong to a brokerage and they're required to be a realtor, join an association of NAR, TXR, and then an association. That's what we're referring to. So the implications for the brokerages, this is pretty good because there are a lot of brokerages named in this suit too. There actually were. And if you look at it, remember a couple shows ago, we were talking also, they also named some brokerages in Texas. Remember that when they filed that Texas suit up in Sherman?
That's right.
So,
yeah.
We had individuals, we had even some teams, so they're coming out pretty good. So implication for brokerages entitles brokerage entities owned by members that had a residential transaction volume of $2 billion or below are released from liability nationwide. Hello, I'm liking this. All right, while we would have preferred to protect all industry players, ultimately NAR cannot obviously do so. All right, next thing is the agreement provides a mechanism for nearly all brokerage entities that have a residential transaction volume in 2022 that exceeds $2 billion to obtain releases efficiently if they choose to do so. So they have choices at that point. So, to me, this is so far not sounding too good. I mean, not sounding too bad. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the release of liability is the big one.
Yeah, I love the release of liability part of things. So right there, that's a good thing. Another good thing is instead of being sued for $1.73 billion, they lowered the settlement to $419 million. So that's another good thing. And they agree, I think the agreement is going to be over 3 to 5 years for payback too. So, that's a win for them per se, because that's a lot of money being saved. And it looks to me like they're trying to protect as much as they possibly can, which is good. Now, if I was a national company and made $5 billion, I don't know about all that, but right now we're looking really good. All right, so implication for NAR and other realtor associations. NAR is released from liability nationwide, so they're going to release themselves, obviously. And if you sit on any board of directors, for like at the local board or NAR board or whatever the case may be, any officers, directors, or other participants in NAR activities are released from liability. So I'm liking this so far.
Yeah.
All state, territorial, and local association realtors are released. So, how they named the LART, like ABOR was named, Metrotex was named, HAR was named. So what that's going to do is release everybody from that as well. Which I never could figure out why the MLS was actually involved in it. I never could figure that out. All they are is a provider, of putting information in. It's not like they're the ones that put in here's the commission, right? I mean, it's the people that have to physically upload things into the system to actually, I don't know. So, but they had to go after something, right? All right, so implications for association owned MLS. The release includes all MLS that are wholly owned by one or more realtor associations. So that's pretty much, everybody at that point, right? Or some associations own other associations or affiliated with other associations. So that's definitely a plus. All right, so far I haven't heard anything too bad so far. All right, implications for other MLSs. The agreement provides a mechanism for other MLSs to be covered by, if they choose to be, of course. This mechanism also includes opting into MLS practice changes that are a part of the agreement and paying a per subscriber fee to the settlement fund. All right, well, that's a little. Did you just read what I just read? Did you just hear what I just read? The mechanism includes opting into the MLS practice changes that are a part of the agreement and paying a per subscriptor fee to the settlement fund. So does that sound like the MLS fees are going to go up?
Yeah.
I think they might be adding some MLS fees. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that one, but kind of like they might even do this. They might say, hey, if you want to donate, kind of like how TreePack does. Hey, once you renew your subscription, or your MLS dues, they say, hey, we're going to add this much to the TreePack fund, or you can always donate more. Maybe they might do that, or maybe they might just tack on, hey, $35, have a great day. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to handle that situation. But you know what? If it keeps us out of trouble, $35 extra on an MLS, I'm not going to argue with that. So far, how's this sound, Jeff? Does it sound that bad?
Yeah, well, not so much. I mean, we're moving along. Yeah, so far
Yeah,
so good.
So wait till we get to the other parts of things, right? I mean, this is good. This is the good stuff for release of liability stuff, but there might be some changes when it comes to business, right? So that's what we're all waiting on. All right. While we would have preferred to protect all industry players, the MLS not wholly owned by the realtor associations were excluded by plaintiffs. So, so that's good too. All right. Now here's the big one right here. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Practice changes. Is that what everybody's kind of concerned about? So we might have to maybe do something or alter our practices a little bit. Well, to me, like I said, I always gave buyer reps anyway. Because, if you think about it, if you don't have a buyer rep and you go show a buyer a piece of property, who do you represent? The seller. So technically speaking, we should have had a buyer rep so we can, give our buyers the highest level of service. That's the first way. I mean, that's my idea of we should have done a buyer rep. Another one is it always, commission protection. If the seller didn't pay, who was going to pay? The buyer. And then another reason why I had a buyer rep in place is, how about legality purposes? If something was to happen, I'd rather have something in writing than hearsay. See what I mean? So let's see how this is going to change. All right, so practice changes. So they were able to retain the right of consumers to continue to have cooperative compensation as an option so long as they pursue it off MLS through negotiation consultation with real estate professionals. Have you heard rumors to the contrary of that? Oh no, sellers can't pay commission anymore. All right, did that say the sellers can't pay commission anymore? What did that say? What that said was, hey, if the listing agent negotiates with that seller and the seller agrees that they're going to pay an X amount of commission and the listing agent agrees to pay out the same way as we do today, the only difference is they're not going to be able to list it on the MLS as BAC. So they're basically taking the BAC off the MLS. Well, at one time, we could have actually searched the BAC. Remember that one, how you can have that search engine, BAC? You actually go in there and say, oh, we only want to do this. We only want to do that. But if you print off the MLS sheet, it has BAC right there. So what they're basically saying is taking that off there completely, but that does not mean that the sellers can't pay, but it's just not going to be listed. So how do you think you would handle that?
I mean, a quick phone call will solve that.
Yeah. I mean, come on. And so right when you go to show the property, hey, listing agent, how you doing? Hey, I want to show your property. Are you guys offering a co-op commission, Well, we're only offering 1%. All right, thank you. Not a problem. Click. Hey, buyer, I just got off the phone with this. We're going through the buyer rep. The property that you want to see is paying 1%, but the services that I give, I believe my services are worth 2%. So would you be willing to pay an extra 1% to go show you the property? That's it. You see what I mean? So what are we going to have to do? Take a little bit more time as the buyer's agent to possibly, I say, educate the buyer to what our services really are and what we're offering, and to tell them, hey, this is why we want 2%. They're already paying 1, so will you agree to pay the other percent so you get this full level of service? So it looks to me like all we're going to have to do is maybe one more step. But here's the other issue. What happens if the seller's agent's not paying the commission and you call them? Then we're going to have to then we're going to have to talk to them and say, hey, look, the listing side's not paying anything at this point. And we're really going to have to say, hey, look, there's many ways that we could be paid. All right. So do we have to pay off a percentage? No. How about you pay a flat fee? Have you ever been paid a flat fee for doing something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, how about hourly? I would love to get paid hourly. Anybody else? That'd be awesome. All right. So if you look at a lot of these agencies, a lot of these brokerages now, they're actually having their attorneys rewrite the buyer rep, to kind of give opportunity when you're addressing the buyer and saying, hey, look, we don't have to get a percentage. How about we just charge you a flat fee of $500 or a flat fee of $2,000, whatever it is, right? Whatever you can negotiate, everything's negotiable. Some associations are actually having their attorneys write different types of buyer reps as well for that opportunity to choose. In commercial, if you ever do a commercial buyer rep agreement, you've seen these, right? Don't they have options of how to pay?
Yeah.
Refundable, non-refundable retainer fees, hourly rates, percentage, flat fee. So in my mind, that might be the approach that we might have to do. And I don't know if it will happen or not. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. If associations are changing their buyer reps to kind of mirror that kind of, statement or that kind of payment, maybe TXR might come up with a new buyer rep that will probably have something similar to that. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. But there's many ways that we can get paid, right? And so basically, NAR has agreed to put in place a new rule prohibiting offers of compensation on the MLS. And the change will go into effect mid-July. So we're a little far away right now, right? So I don't know if anybody's ever, saw court actions or anything like that, but can they change? We don't know. Nothing's been signed yet, everybody, so we have no idea. But I mean, the good thing about it is at least we're being prepared.
Yeah. And I mean, this really boils down to the listing side in my mind. It really, if you are the listing agent, take that time to set your expectations for your seller. Let them know that, hey, yeah, you're right. You don't have to pay neither to the buyer side, but if you don't, you may be limiting your buyer pool. Right?
It's a possibility.
Because
right?
now, because now we're depending on the buyer agent to have that conversation with the buyer that they're willing to pay and all that. And I mean, it might take some folks to get trained up on how to do this.
Well, I was also thinking about this today. If you're dealing with a buyer with no money, if they have no money to put down on a house and they're getting down payment assistance, or, whatever the situation is, not that it's, I mean, I want to work with everybody, right? Money doesn't make an agency. But on the flip side of it too, you still want to get paid for what you do. And so next thing you know, you're dealing with this buyer and you're like, hey, the seller hasn't, they're not going to pay anything. So, here's what I'm going to offer you for my services. And I walk them through that. If they can't, afford to pay what you're looking to get paid to compensate to run your business, because that's what we're doing, right? I mean, technically speaking, do I even have to work with you? So if you think about it,
and that piece right there, that shortens down your buyer pool. It makes it smaller because now, regardless of what agent that buyer goes to, you know, nobody's going to work for free. I mean, who works for free?
So then you kind of look at it like this. If nobody's going to work with that buyer, let's think about this. What are you going to see a lot of? Intermediary, possibly. I mean, let's think about that. And then they're not going to get the right representation, because if you do intermediary without appointments, you can't give them advice and opinions. If you do intermediary with appointments, that might be a solution. But you're also looking at it going, it could also lead to, hey, the buyer doesn't even want representation. I mean, have you ever thought about that too? They're like, we don't even want representation. We got to pay for it. We don't want it. We're just going to handle it ourselves. Does that sound a lot more risky to the consumer? Or even better yet, they're going to get themselves in a situation, since I can't give advice and opinions, they got to go hire an attorney.
Yeah.
How much is an attorney going to cost you? The attorney's going to cost you more money than if you would have paid 1%. You never know. So This is going to have to be a real confusing situation. And I don't think in a lot of ways it's going to be doing the seller or the buyers right. And then on the flip side of it, is it really doing the sellers right? You see what I mean? Because that's what representation is all about. Yeah, it looks like it blows up.
Yeah, you go ahead and reset your camera again. I'm gonna go ahead. It looks like we got a couple questions here. Luminita Cordis, is it allowed on the listing agents and their brokerage page to? I think it is going to be allowed that we do that, but just not going to be listed in MLS.
Yeah. Yeah, because on the listing page it already says, hey, they're going to pay the cooperating broker, right? So they'll still be on the listing agreement. We just can't announce it as that they're getting paid. Yeah. So this isn't avoiding them from paying. It's not stopping anybody. It's just, I think, giving the opportunity, instead of agents looking up BAC of what they want to get paid, and giving them that opportunity to pick and choose.
Yeah. And I think this whole process is going to weed some agents out, because if you can't provide a value and sell that value to your client, you're going to have a hard time convincing them that you're going to ask them to pay part of your commission. So I think this will weed some out.
Yeah. So, I mean, you go on to read through this, and so you look at it, but using the MLS communicate offers of compensation would no longer be an option, but the types of compensation available for buyer brokers would still be the same. Fixed, concession from the seller, portion of the listing broker's commission. So commission will continue to be negotiable and should always be negotiated between agents. So, see what I mean? So it's just going to be not being announced. And so it might be a little harder if they're not paying a commission, it's going to be a little harder on that end to try to get it. I've heard some people say, well, why don't you just roll it into the loan? Well, it's not a closing cost. You know what I'm saying? And a lender can't pay you, because that would be against a RESPA violation.
Yeah.
So, you kind of look at it, kind of stuck at that point in time. So it's got to come out of their pocket, per se, at that point. All right. So we continue on through this. Implications for home buyers and sellers. Well, this is kind of what we've been talking about. The settlement would preserve the choices consumers have regarding real estate services and compensation. So it gives them more open to be able to negotiate their fees, which I'm all right with that. What do you think? I mean, there is no such thing as a set fee. There never was such thing as a set fee. I've been in real estate forever and a day, and I've never heard anything say your commissions are set. I've never heard that before in my life, ever. All right. So after the new rule goes into effect, listing brokers and sellers could continue. Now listen, after the new rule goes into effect, listing brokers and sellers could continue to offer compensation for buyer services, but such offers could not be communicated via what? MLS. So that's kind of where it's at. So that's why you got to pick up the phone. It's not stopping the sellers from paying you. All it's doing is stopping them from putting it on the MLS. But notice how it just said MLS. What about other forms of communication? Ever thought about that? I mean, I haven't seen any like, hey, I just advertised this on Facebook. Sellers are paying 6%. I haven't seen them stop that, but only through the MLS. All right, so the settlement expressly provides that sellers may communicate seller concessions such as buyer's closing cost via the MLS, provided such concessions are not conditioned on the use or payment to the buyer broker. So basically, obviously, it has to come out of either the buyer's pocket and or if the seller is going to give the concession. So it's not as bad as people think it is. Because I see a lot of people now. It's like, oh no, I hear the sellers are never going to be able to pay the buyer's broker. I've actually heard that. There was something on Facebook the other day. Man, it made me cringe. There was an agent that did one of those little skits, on Facebook, and she goes, "Call me now call me buyers before sellers aren't going to be paying commission anymore, and you're stuck having to do it." What? Can you imagine that? I'm sitting there going, you don't really understand how the suit's going, do you? And that's miscommunication. And it's not just other agents that are watching your Facebook. What about consumers? So how do you think they're getting misled? Bad information. That's what it's all about. So I think if we're going to give our consumers the information, let's give them the right information, right? Because they already got enough that's going on around in the world around them, enough miscommunication, but they shouldn't be miscommunicated on this. And I look at it this way. This is probably the most expensive thing you'll ever sell and the most expensive thing you'll ever buy. So if you look at it like that, we better make it clear. All right, so new rule about written agreements. All right, so NAR has long encouraged all its members to use written agreements. I mean, that's actually in Article 9. I mean, that's an NAR code, everybody. When necessary, or use a what? Written agreement. It's already been in Article 9 anyway. And also, so there's no misunderstanding of communication. That's what this whole thing is all about. Get it in writing, because they help consumers understand exactly what services and value you will provide. So how can you actually do that? Well, if you have a listing presentation, I think a lot of people have a great listing presentation. Say, hey, if we list your property, this is what we're going to do for you. And, we would like to get X amount of dollars for this, or a percentage. If we don't get this percentage, here's what we're going to do for the listing. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. And then for this percentage, here's what we're not going to do. See what I mean? So I think the listing side has already kind of had that down. I think we're going to have to go towards the buyer side and do that too. Hey, buyer, on the buyer side, here's what we're going to do for this percentage. Here's what we're not going to do if you're going to do this. Here's what we're not going to do if you're going to do this. Because why do people pay us anyway? Services that we provide. So I think we're going to have to spend a little bit more time on that buyer rep. All right. So if you look at it, the settlement provides that MLS participants working with buyers must enter into a written representation agreement with those buyers. What's a buyer rep? Don't you think Trek would like us to enter into a buyer rep too? I mean, come on, it's agency, everybody. So not only does NAR want to do it, but how about the state laws? How about your broker? Your broker will probably want you to do it too, right? Because it protects you. It protects not only the buyer, but it also protects the brokerage, which in turn protects everybody. It's a win-win-win-win-win situation. All right, so this change, again, will probably hit somewhere around mid-July if it does go through, right? If it does get signed, which we're kind of talking about acting as if it will, but we're not 100% sure. All right, so implications of members and homeowners and sellers. After the new rule goes in effect, MLS participants acting for the buyers will be required to enter into a written agreement, and these agreements can help consumers understand what they're doing. So I've always taught that. Whenever you look at that buyer rep, we should have been walking through them anyway. There's responsibilities to them that we owe them. There's also responsibilities that your client owes you. We should have been walking them through anyway, so they fully understand what they're signing. So what do you think so far, Jeff? Does it sound too bad so far?
It really doesn't. I mean, what I do hope that comes out of this, I mean, our buyer rep is what, 5 pages? It would be nice to have a little bit shorter of a buyer rep. Can we consolidate this a little bit? Because, before we show homes, when this goes into effect, we're going to have this before we, unlock that door. And I imagine a lot of this is going to happen on the hood of a car before we even walk in. And it would be nice if we don't have to print out 3 trees to get this thing signed off every time. So
yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I mean, I've been doing this for years. I mean, there's not been a whole lot of change in here. And, the sellers don't all, I mean, let's think about this. Have you ever had a seller say, hey, you know what? I want you to list the property, but, we're only willing to pay you 4%. Have you ever had that happen before? And what do? You take two and you offer out what? Two. So, see what I mean? So it's not really that shocking if you think about it, because they've always had that opportunity to negotiate their commissions. I
You, you
mean,
know, I always fire back with, if I can't negotiate a better rate with you, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, how do you expect me to negotiate a sales price for that with that buyer? If I'm going to roll over so easy on the commission, am I going to roll over? You want somebody that can negotiate, and I'm going to prove it right now by you're going to, give me X amount of percentage. Now we see that on commercial. I don't want to buy the buyer agent commission. I don't want to pay for that. We see that already. So it's already happening, but it's just now, I think, coming to light here, which, like you said, you've been doing this for years. And Section 11, the broker fees and the buyer rep, it's always been that way.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always been that way. I mean, buyer reps have been around since like what, 1996? I mean, that's a long time. Yeah. Even other states have had buyer reps out. I mean, in California, they've been out since 1988. I mean, let's think about it. I mean, there's been buyer reps, through other states as well. I mean, it was created so the buyers would have representation. That's what it was all about. And so you wouldn't run into a situation to where it was always a sub-agency situation, right? So they were always having to go through the seller's agent. You always represent the seller. The buyer didn't have their own representation. So you look at it and go, it's been evolving. Yeah, I get it. But we should have been doing this when they first came out. And, like you said, that's a pretty good game plan right there. Hey, if I can't negotiate you this, hey, I'm here to negotiate the best selling price for you. And like you just said, if I had to roll over and say, okay, we're good. I mean, if I was going to hire somebody, I mean, I'd rather pay top dollar to get top pay, right? Top sales price. And so I want to see somebody that's going to go after them, sell my property for the top price. And that's a good point right there.
Yeah. If I can't sell you my value and let you see what I can do for you, then how do you expect me to negotiate with that contract, that offer? I mean, if you want me to stick a sign in the yard, I mean, there's thousands of agents that can do that. But if you want the best agent, that adds value, let me know.
I mean, that's why they hire us, right? Value.
Yeah.
And it's funny how people want value, but they don't want to have to pay for it. You know what I'm saying?
And sometimes a listing isn't you can walk away from it too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be the best thing to do too. Not every listing is a good listing.
Yeah.
And so if it already starts off with animosity, man, what do you think the rest of the listing is going to be? It's going to go downhill pretty quick. So, I think you got a great point there. We got to negotiate. We got to stick to what we believe. We got to show them what we can do. And we can even back it up with references, right? Or testimonials. Say, hey, look, I have sold 10 properties in this area. Here's 5 phone numbers you can call. Call them. It's like I tell people all the time, I'd rather have somebody else talk good about me than myself. You know what I mean? That's the best testimonial, the best thing you can possibly have. So, we might have to come up with different creative ideas because they don't know you. You know what I mean? You don't even know them, right? Technically speaking. And we're sitting here trying to negotiate with these people and they're taking your word for it. Call somebody else. I got 5 references. Give them a call. See what we can do for you. Show them the proof of the fact that, hey, I listed the house 2 doors down and we had an offer on it in 3 days. The reason why we had an offer on it for 3 days is because these are the services that I provided. And for these services, it not only costs money for me, but I'm running a business, right? So I don't always get, just because I'm asking you for a certain percentage, some of that money is going to go towards helping you sell your property too. Have you ever thought about that? These sellers don't understand. Hey, I'm giving you $30,000 to sell my property. Yeah, but it's going to take me $6,000 in advertising. So that's just basically going towards your benefit to be able to sell your property. so we don't pocket all of it at that point.
Yeah. There's a risk. I mean, there's a risk that the money that I put into marketing and we don't sell your house, or the seller decides to back out for whatever reason. Life changes. Life happens, and now we're stuck holding the bill. So, I just think this is going to be the key. I think this is going to bring. I think this is a good thing for real estate. I'll tell you why. Because it's going to bring the professionalism back to real estate. Right now, we're overloaded. We've got too many part-time, halfway agents running out there. And I think this is going to reel it back in, and I think it'll overall help everybody.
Well, yeah, I'm going to stem off the professionalism. Would you ever want to? I mean, let's think about it. If I was going to deal with somebody and they don't have any paperwork in place, there's like, oh, I can do all this for you, I can do all that for you, and there's nothing in an agreement. How professional is that? To me, that's not very professional. What forms do we have that say you're going to do what? I mean, what's going on? We're just sitting here talking. Just like anything else, whatever is said and whatever is written is what's going to supersede, not what I just told you. So putting it in writing, just in my mind, makes it more professional at that point. So yeah, you're right. I think a lot more professionals and a lot less carelessness. You know what I mean? Because, carelessness could be, oh, I forgot to have that buyer rep sign. I can't tell you how many times I teach classes and go, oh yeah, I closed the transaction. I totally forgot to do a buyer rep. Wait, what? Or, oh man, I forgot to do that, or I forgot to do that. So maybe it'll make us more self-conscious as well, and also be more self-conscious to, covering ourselves. And if we cover ourselves, in all reality, we're covering the consumer as well. So that's way professional to me.
Yeah.
So I think if we approach it that way and we explain to our consumers and give them the truth, not what they're watching on the news. I mean, I saw something on the news the other day, completely, how news is 80% wrong, 20% right, read between the lines kind of thing. It was completely wrong. I mean, nothing that we've just read right here was even said, except for they settled for $418 million. That was the only thing right out of the whole entire piece of paper. All the rest of it was all over the place. And so that's why I'm saying I think a lot of times that the consumers are getting way fed bad information. So we might have to say, hey, look, if you want to get real good information, why don't you go to the NAR website, get the real information before you try to assume this is what it's all about. Because I can pretty much tell you right now, when people assume things and you try to talk to them, they're not going to listen. Well, you're wrong. You're just trying to get money. No. Go to the website, give them good information. You read this great article right now, and then let's have a conversation about what's going on, and let's take it from there, because now we're on the same playing field. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like anything else that changes, we all got to adapt. That's all it is right there.
You know what? I saw a post on this, and it's on the internet, so it's got to be true, right? Something about the lawyers. The lawyers are the real winners. They make 33% of this, this fee or whatever. Yeah, and when the class action lawsuit's all said and done, each person gets what, $21 or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like a roundup, hey, have you used Roundup in the last 3 years? It's $4 billion. You put a claim in, you get $12. The only people that actually made the money was lawyers. I don't know about you, but I'll take 33% of $418 million. What do you guys think? I mean, that's great. And so I wonder if they negotiated their fee. Just a question. Well, we don't want to pay 33%. What about 20? See what I mean? I wonder if they got that opportunity. So, but NAR operations going forward, kind of give you an idea what they're doing here. Nothing about the settlement changes NAR commitment, which is good, right? I mean, they're still committed to serving us, which is good. And one of the critical advantages, NAR will pay $418 million over approximately 4 years. Like I said, 3 to 5 years. And that's a lot of money, but it's a lot less than 1.73 billion. So, but that's about all I got with the suit right now. And this is the latest and greatest, everybody. This is it right here. Hot off the press from the NAR. So, um, in my mind, I saw a lot of positive too, not just negative. And one thing I do absolutely love about real estate is change. It always changes, everybody. And I think the hardest part about business is change. And so whenever something changes, it throws everybody in a tailspin. And once it turns them into a tailspin, what happens? It gets over embellished, and all of a sudden rumors start. And it turns out to be a complete disaster. Then all of a sudden you get on the news, then you Google everything. Google's always right too, by the way. I thought I'd share that with you. And so you get on Google and you hear from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. And what does it turn out to be? Complete chaos. And so I look at it this way. If you really want to know the truth about something, why don't you contact a professional?
Yeah.
I never could understand that. If you ever wanted something to know about a legal situation, are you going to call your brother that works, that's not even an attorney, that probably, drives Uber? I mean, give me a break. Who are you going to call? A lawyer, right? That's where you're going to go. If you want information about something, where are you going to go? To the source. And so I think that as a realtor, all the way around the nation, we should identify the fact that we're the ones that actually understand this, because we hopefully do understand this now that we went through this, and we're the source to get the information, not third parties.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a real good opportunity for agents, that for them to pick up their game. Review your buyer consultation, put that presentation together, get with your broker, make sure that you're on track with what you're saying. But this is an opportunity to weed out the agents that aren't real serious about this.
Yeah,
so this is good.
Yeah. So professionalism, number one, and get educated. That's what this is all about. So if a consumer does ask you, you can tell them the truth and try to straighten out all the rumors. So, yep, I agree. All right, Jeff, that's all I got with the NAR update, which was pretty good. What do you think? I mean, that wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
So a lot better than I think a lot of people thought.
And it's still subject to change, right? It's still not in stone yet. So we're
not stone.
Yeah.
We're hoping that we're anticipating. That's what I like to say, anticipation, or even anticipating it's better, right? But who knows, right? But as of right now, this is where it stands. If it goes through and the proposal is approved by the courts, that's where we stand. But in all reality, we should have been doing a lot of this a while back.
Yeah.
So, not too bad. All right. You got anything else for today? This is pretty good. Oh, this is awesome. I'm glad that we got to go through this.
Yeah, this is good. I did clear the lines. We got too many calls in at once, and it actually kind of negated everything out. So go ahead and call back and give us your question if you have anything, or type it in. We'll answer it for it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. What's the number? 940-230-2899, or realestateramble@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, 5-second rule. Okay, that's that is a wrap, sir. Anything else?
All right. That's all I got. But we'll be back in 2 weeks, right? Not next week, but the following week.
Yeah. Let me check the studio calendar. April 4th, 6 o'clock. April 4th.
All right. Well, what we're gonna do is say have a great good night. Actually, I mean, I was looking down at the clock. I thought it was only like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Tells you where I'm at. All right. So you guys have a great afternoon. Good evening. Rest of the week. Stay safe. And if you have any questions, again, you can always call in or go ahead and email us. We'll be more than happy to help or answer your questions. And if you have any, ideas for a show, let us know. Email, call. We're all here to help. Hopefully this helped out everybody. And this is a crucial part of our business, everybody. So understanding is knowledge, and knowledge is king. So you guys have a great day. See you next couple of weeks.